You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Arya, and this is your NXT update for Wednesday, September 21st, 2016. Let's see if I remember how to do this. I had a 2-week break. Backlash and the CM Punk fight depressed me so much that I just beat the crap out of my computer, and I couldn't handle it again. Just ignore the fact that, my computer died on me the week before the Punk fight and Backlash. It broke in anticipation of those two things happening. Anyway, NXT this week, the show began with a recap of last week's Shinsuke Nakamura Samoa Joe angle, where Joe came out and said he wanted his rematch and then beat the crap out of Nakamura. I should point out, and I don't know how many people actually brought this up, Samoa Joe wasn't driving the car that he drove away in. He had his head out the window of the passenger seat screaming at Mr. Regal while somebody else was driving the car. I wonder if that's ever going to be mentioned. Probably not. Anyway, speaking of Samoa Joe, NXT kicked off this week with the former NXT champion marching to the ring. The announcers informed us that they did not know Nakamura's medical status only 7 days after the fact. But however, despite the announcers not knowing it, Samoa Joe did. Samoa Joe had Nakamura's medical report stating that Nakamura had back, elbow, shoulder, and clavicle issues. But despite all this, he will not require surgery, but will require 6 to 12 weeks of rest and rehabilitation. Samoa Joe was very angry about this, said that he's not going to wait 6 weeks for a title match, he's not going to wait 12 weeks for a title match. He demanded Mr. Regal come out right now and either schedule a title match immediately or strip Nakamura of the championship and hand it over to Joe. That brought out our dapper NXT general manager, who confirmed that the medical report that Joe had is legit. He didn't know how Joe had it, but he did recognize that it was real. However, he does not know Nakamura's status as of now because Nakamura doesn't answer his phone, I guess. That's not just me guessing, that's what, Mr. Eagle said. Anyway, the problem that Joe caused, Mr. Regal will take care of. And Joe at this point left the ring, marched up the ramp, looked right at Mr. Regal and told him to make things right, or he would do to the entire roster what he did to Samoa Joe. To Shinsuke Nakamura. I should point out the last time he threatened to do that, he took out Mojo Rawley and nobody else. This week, we never saw him again. Anyway, Cedric Alexander was backstage and did a promo regarding his NXT debut tonight against Andrade Cien Almas. He said tonight is only the start of his journey, and he asked Mr. Eagle for the best, so he was given Almas. Liv Morgan has vowed to not bow down to Asuka. To show how serious she is, she took her hat off. Asuka walked up to her and told her to let's find out if she's ready. We finally got our first match of the evening, Austin Aries versus Oney Lorcan. In case the name kind of, sort of, vaguely rings a bell, Lorcan, about 2.5 months ago, defeated Ty Dillinger in the ring and then took a lengthy vacation. My best guess is the winner's purse money was so much that he was able to take a vacation and not have to worry about things. The two men exchanged headlocks at the start of the match, and in fact, the first half of this match was Almas, yikes, what am I smoking here? The first half of the match was Oney Lorcan showing that he knows how to do a headlock. It was getting to Cactus Jack versus DC Drake levels of ridiculousness here, as Lorcan was putting on one headlock after another. Corey Graves referred to this as a unique offense, which isn't technically a lie. and eventually Aries got tired of the headlocks and threw Lorcan over the top rope, smashing his back on the ring apron, which, if you might recall, is the hardest part of the ring. Lorcan screamed to signal his comeback. He did a series of corner hip attacks where he'd bounce off the opposite turnbuckle first. I would ask, how can that stun a person, when, Bill throws Bob into the corner turnbuckle, it always stuns him. However, you see someone like Oney Lorcan doing it to himself 3 or 4 times at top speed and doesn't seem to care so much. Anyway, Lorcan actually took Aries' head off at one point with an uppercut from hell. Aries was on the top rope and came off, and Lorcan did an uppercut that reminded me a whole lot of Street Fighter. But despite all this, Aries cut him off and won with the last chancery. After the match, Aries cut a promo on Hideo Itami. Aries said that last week he was at home because he had better things to do than be here on his day off. I should point out that NXT runs one TV show a week. It airs Wednesday nights from 8 to 9, and they gave people days off. Anyway, he said he would call Itami out right now, but Itami is a coward, so he would not come out. And shockingly, this brought Itami out. However, when Itami got into the ring, Austin Aries literally ran away. We got a video package for the soon-to-be debuting Dan Matha. He will be debuting in 2 weeks. I should point out that was not me lisping. That is the pronunciation of the poor man's name. He's a former NFL football player, and he is very, very ripped. Last week, WWE.com caught up with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa after their match on the Cruiserweight Classic finale. When they were attacked by the Revival, those evil fiends. Gargano and Ciampa got the better of it, and the Revival ran away when security ran in to break it up. Billie Kay took on Arya next. Welcome to the NXT Women's Division in 2016. This was a match between 2 inexperienced ladies who each need a lot more training. There wasn't a whole lot more to say about this. I know a few weeks ago, Billie Kay had a match where she was missing everything by a foot, and it was obvious she was missing everything by a foot. They seem to have improved that by just having them hit each other, and damn be the consequences. Anyway, Billie went for her running boot. Arya moved out of the way and hit a flipping neck breaker for a near fall, but Billie hit the running boot on her second attempt and picked up the win. Mandy Rose from Tough Enough threatened to eclipse Ember Moon. I should point out that I don't know if I really hate her yet. The thing that I hate is that Corey Graves has moved his over-the-top obsession / infatuation with Eva Marie now to Mandy Rose. So this poor girl, I just don't want to give her a chance at this point. They are doing Asuka versus Liv Morgan next week. I honestly had fear that they were going to stretch this out and could be compared to the Camacho-Adam Rose feud from 2014, where they spent 6 or 7 weeks building up on television to an NXT TakeOver match that went 3 minutes. Main event time. The NXT debut of Cedric Alexander versus Andrade Cien Almas. The fans popped big for Cedric and were more than a little disappointed for Almas. I should point out that Stephanie McMahon is getting put over for bringing Cedric to Raw, while Triple H gets put over for bringing him to NXT. This isn't the time or place. I'd probably be here for half an hour if I really got into this. But Tom Phillips brought up that Alexander is a former IWGP Intercontinental Champion. but doesn't actually mention that he beat Nakamura for the title, which I think would probably be more interesting than just saying that he was champion. Almas, it's weird, Almas nowadays has this ability to turn the crowd in his favor because he does a lot of cool stuff. And that's the exact opposite of how it used to be when he started. Because when he started, the first couple of matches he came out and the fans popped pretty big for him, and then they died as the matches went on. Whereas nowadays, when he comes out, no one gives a crap, and then they pop big for, his moves and his stuff. Cedric jumped so high on a tope that the ropes could have been 6 inches higher, and Alexander still would have cleared them. Almas used the deadlift powerbomb for a near fall, which made him nervous when Alexander kicked out. Almas used his double moonsault that has never beaten anybody, and then he got frustrated when it didn't beat anybody. And Alexander won with a backbreaker. After the match, Alexander and Almas hugged as the show went off the air. And that's going to do it for this week. I want to thank everyone for listening. And I'll talk to you again in 7 days.